the gas on and then add more and more and more and more, and then they nearly lose control of the car. These are the mistakes that a lot of new drivers make, and I'm going to show you how to avoid them. Let's go. One mistake that I see a lot of learners do is they try to keep up with the car in front of them and be really close to them, especially in traffic. This is going to make your driving much harder. So let me show you what I mean. So if I'm trying to keep up with this person, as soon as they move and I'm trying to be right behind them, anything that they do, I'm going to have to respond straight away, and it's going to be harder to deal with. So like if they start slowing down now, I've got less time to react and I'm more likely to stall, might forget the clutch, and then now I've stalled. To avoid that, give this person in front of you lots of room. Let them move off first, and don't try to be right behind them the whole time they move. So like now when they move off, I'm not going to be trying to be right next to them as they move. I'm going to give them time to move, check my surroundings, and then once I can see that they've gone a bit further, I can carry on now, instead of trying to be really close behind them. And this way, if anything is in front of them like that, I can see in good time. These guys let me through, thanks very much. But if I was really close, I wouldn't be able to see that. Another thing I see learners do is have their left foot far away from the pedals. Now this is going to be an issue. Let's say you're driving along and you got your foot down here somewhere. If something happens in front and you got to respond, you have to now think about moving your foot to the clutch, or sometimes you might even miss where the clutch is. So like here, for instance, if I'm having to think about moving my foot towards the clutch, what happens a lot of the times is the learner would know that they're coming to a stop, but then they might forget that to press the clutch, or they might do it a little bit too late and then they stall. To avoid that, what you need to be doing is making sure that your foot is around the clutch the whole time. So I'm going to keep my foot near the pedals the whole time. So instead of having it down here, I've got it down here. So if anything happens now, I'm ready to change gears. If I need to stop, I can start braking gently and then put my clutch down, and then I can stop. Even if I want to go into neutral and put my handbrake on, I'm not going to have my foot down here. I'm just having it ready, or having it to the side there. You hear a lot of people saying, oh, but don't do that because you're going to be riding the clutch. That's riding the clutch. Riding the clutch is when you're driving around with your foot pressed down a little bit. That's going to be an issue. But having it just near the pedals or just resting a little bit on the clutch is not going to be a problem. Another mistake I see a lot of learners do is try to bring the clutch up really fast when they're trying to go quickly. So let's say now all these cars have moved and then they don't want to get left behind. So what they'll do is they'll try to bring the clutch up really quick like that to go quickly. It's not going to work. All you're going to do then is stall. In the first place, don't try to be quick in these kind of situations. Just take your time. So here, add a bit of gas and then gradually bring the clutch up, counting 1, 2, 3 as I release the clutch. No need to rush. Look, these people are still here. You're not going to get left behind. Even if you do get left behind, it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it. When you do more practice, the more driving you do, you're going to get quicker. So if you're trying to move off quickly, make sure you're using the gas and the clutch together, and don't bring the clutch all the way up straight away. So you want to put lots of gas on and then bring the clutch up like that. It's still smooth and it's not all the way up, and I've got the gas in the background as well. If you want to know how to do that properly plus some other tips, make sure you check out the other video that I made which shows you how to move off quickly at traffic lights without stalling. One thing that I see a lot of learners do is try to move off with the handbrake still on. So right now I've got the handbrake on and I'm gonna do my checks and then I'll try to move. So if you notice the car still moves even with the handbrake on, but it was making weird noises, it was vibrating. That's one of the things you want to look for. So when you're moving off, if you keep forgetting, first of all, the car is going to feel harder to move. It's going to feel like something is holding it back. Yeah, that's one clue. Also, weird noises, rumblings in the car, that also will show you something is not quite right. But the main thing to look for is the symbol on the dashboard there, which shows you that the handbrake's on. So like right now, if I release it, see that comes off. If I put it on, that stays on. So when you're moving, you shouldn't be seeing any red lights on your dashboard. So if you're seeing any red lights, you need to check it out and then sort it out. So now I'm going to move off now, do my checks, and then handbrake down. There's no red light on my dashboard. That way I know the handbrake's down, it feels smooth, and I can move off nicely. For some reason, a lot of learners don't realize how fast they're approaching junctions and hazards. So like this one, for instance, I'm going to turn left here, But learners will just keep their foot down on the gas the whole time until they get to like somewhere around here. Then they start thinking, oh my God, I'm gonna need to brake. And then by then they need to brake really hard, probably stall, and somebody could be behind them and they're gonna potentially crash into the back of you. You don't want to do it that way. It's much safer for everyone around, including yourself, and it's less scary as well if you start braking really early. I'm going to show you what I mean now. I'm doing around 20 miles per hour, and then now I'm easing off the gas from early. I'm braking really gently from early as well. Yeah, I'm bringing my speed down so that when I'm about 10 meters away from where I want to be or where I want to stop, I'm already going slowly around 5 miles per hour, get into first gear, check it out, and then make my turn. So this one I see with a lot of my learners, who, especially the ones that are a bit nervous, and that is they grip the steering wheel super tight. They think somehow this is going to help them control the car, and when they're going around the corner they're like really tightly. This is not helpful. It's going to hurt your hands after a while, and they think that by holding like this is going to keep the car straight, but it doesn't. Look, the car goes straight anyway. Do you see? The car will go in a straight line anyway, so holding it super tight like this doesn't help. What you need to do is imagine that you're holding a raw egg. Hold it with the same amount of pressure that you would hold a raw egg. That way your hand's not going to hurt, and also when you do turns it's going to be a lot easier as well. So I'm going to turn left here, mirror, mirror, signal left. I'm not gripping the steering wheel too tightly, I'm just holding it gently, get into first gear, checking both sides, and then making my turn. Yeah. When you hold it tight like this as well, is you often see the learner do stuff like this, trying to keep it straight, because it's not allowing the car to go naturally straight. But if I don't hold it so tightly and hold it loosely, I let the car go straight and I just guide it a little bit every now and again. Yeah, I'm just guiding it a little bit. I think a lot of learners have this impression that if they don't hold it with a lot of strength, it's just going to go all over the place, but it doesn't. Yeah, it just goes in a straight line. So it's a good idea to use the gas and the clutch to move off, because it's going to make it smoother. But a mistake a lot of learners make is they use too much gas once they've already started moving. So like here, for instance, I'm going to use a bit of gas as well, but then they'll keep the gas on and then add more and more and more and more, and then they nearly lose control of the car. What you need to do is, once you've moved, release the gas a little bit so it's not too much, and then that way you can control the steering. I'll show you what I mean. So like, let me turn left here. Yeah, so I'm going to use my gas and the clutch, so a bit of gas, and then once I've got moving, I'm going to ease off the gas a little bit, so that way I can straighten up my car. And then now that it's straight, then I add more gas. Yeah, so I'm not using too much gas on the turn itself. That's an easy way to lose control, especially if you're not experienced. So as you're driving and on your test as well, you're going to get told to turn left and right lots of times. And this is something that a lot of learners, for some reason, get confused with. So once you get told you're turning left or right, remember you have lots of time to think about it. So let me say here, I'm going to turn left. I'm going to squeeze my left hand, squeeze my right hand, so I know this way is left. Check my mirror, mirror, signal left, and then that way I know I'm going towards the left hand side. It's not easy to think about which way is left and right sometimes straight away when you're driving. What you have to remember is the examiner or your instructor will tell you in plenty of time that you're going to turn left or right, so that way you have time to think which way is left, which way is right. Another way you can check, which some of my learners use, is using your hands. So like this, doing this. So if I say to you, at the end of this road we're going to be turning right, so you're going to be like, okay, which way is left? Right, okay, right is this way. Mirror, mirror, signal right. You have time to work out which way is left, which way is right. What you don't want to do is leave it until the last second to try to figure out which way is left, which way is right, because that's going to be a problem. Another big mistake that I see a lot of learners make, especially when they start learning to drive, is, let's say we're turning into this road here. They won't turn enough, they'll just turn like this and then lock their arms. But you see, I'm going straight towards the curb over here. What you want to do instead is make sure you keep your hands moving. So don't lock your arms like that, or just don't do a small turn. For a lot of turns, you need to do a big turn and keep the steering wheel moving. And most of the turns, it's going to be one full 360 turn of the steering wheel. And I'll show you what I mean on this turn here. I see it's clear. I'm going to do one 360 turn to the right, and you see it gets us nicely into the road that we're trying to get into. Just like if I want to turn into this road here, I might even go into first. Yeah, let's go into first, and then do one 360 turn to the right. You see, it gets us to where we're trying to go to. Sometimes you need to do more than 360 because of the way it's shaped. So I'm going to go into first as I approach. It looks very, very sharp. Once I get to my turning point, I'll do a 360 turn to the left. Yeah, you see, so this one's sharper, so I need to do a little bit more. Yeah, so it all depends on how sharp it is. This one wasn't at a 90-degree angle, so you need to do a bigger turn to get the car where you want it to go. Something that I see a lot of learners struggle with is pulling over on the left. A lot of them, they'll underestimate how close the curb is on the left there. So they'll start pulling in, and then most of them will get the speed right. But then once they get here, it should be straightening up now and stopping. But a lot of people will go more left now and then end up on the curb. So right now we're actually on the curb. Not ideal. Luckily this bit is kind of flat, so it wasn't too bad. But on a bit that's raised, you need to be really careful there, because if that's on your test, the examiner is going to probably push the steering away so you don't crash into the curb. So to avoid this, you can use a reference point to make sure that you don't hit the curb. This might change slightly from person to person depending on how far away you sit from the steering wheel or how high up you are. So when you're driving along, you want the curb to hit this point here on your dashboard. That way when it's there, you know you're not too close to the curb and you know you're not too far away. That's when you start straightening out your wheels and then stop the car while the curb is there. If you see the curb somewhere like here, you're probably going to hit the curb. If it's somewhere like here, you're probably too far away. So it needs to be right there, and then you stop. That way you're going to be in the right position.